Good afternoon, everybody. It's Dave Astorina with the Public Square Project. My guest today is Mitch Raymond. He's a guy who looked at his community and said, "You know what this place needs? Less trash, more heart." He's not a CEO, he's not a celebrity, but he's something a lot more powerful than that. He's a neighbor. He organizes Newfield's GreenUP Day, which for those of you who don't know is exactly what it sounds like. People, garbage bags, civic love, and this man is the reason it happens every year. People actually show up in their community, get their hands dirty so that their town can be a lot more beautiful. These are my favorite kind of people. And let's all just give Mitch a very warm welcome. Um, really glad to have him today. And he's been making Newfield Green one candy wrapper at a time. Mitch Raymond, thanks for coming to the show. Really appreciate it.
You're
So
welcome.
tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up, and more importantly, why do this?
So I was born in Massachusetts, but in third grade, my family moved up to Vermont, and I lived there from third grade through high school. Every year in Vermont, there is a statewide event called Vermont GreenUp Day. It's very much encouraged throughout the citizens of Vermont to go out and clean up the roadsides. When I was a kid, we would even go on canoes along the Battenkill River and clean up trash from the riverside, which was actually really, really cool. That was a great
Yeah.
experience. But yeah, we green up Vermont because Vermont very much relies on its beauty for tourism. And what was great about growing up with Green Up Day was it instilled in me as a kid the value of not chucking trash out my car window or just on the side of the road. One of my goals with this Green Up Day is to have that same effect on families and kids in my area, so that the younger generations will be, more less likely to throw trash on the road and also more likely to carry that sort of value as they grow up.
Hmm. Yeah. So why did this seem important? Why put your effort into this? Is it just really because you want a better place to look at?
Let me tell you how it started. I'm part of the Newfield community Facebook page, and one of my fellow community members had posted that there's a lot of trash on the roads. I responded and said that about Vermont Green Up Day and how we could possibly bring that to Newfield, New York, and there was a lot of support for it. The overarching reason is not just to beautify, but also to be aware that plastics and trash and dirty things getting shed down the watershed network into our riverways and stuff like that is very harmful to the environment.
Right.
Yeah, which is part of the reason why I gained the support of the Cayuga Watershed Network. The Cayuga Watershed Network supplies us with our trash bags, with our grabbers, with our reflective vests.
Oh, that's
Um,
great.
it's not just the Cayuga Watershed Network, it's also the Newfield Town Board. I went to the Newfield Town Board. Actually, I met up with Mike Allinger, our town supervisor, and he invited me to the one of the board meetings. And I basically stated my case and told them my idea. They were very much on board. And there was some back and forth as to how we were going to pick up the trash. Eventually, I got in touch with Seth Dennis over at Tompkins County Recycling and Waste Management.
Hmm.
And he talked to his superiors and got back to me and said, well, we can give you a waiver for 2,000 pounds, up to 2,000 pounds of trash to be, processed at our facility for free.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So what happened then was we, instead of the dumpster idea, we just thought of leaving the trash at the next intersection of the roadways that the volunteers work at. And that's part of the registration process from 9 to 12 p.m. out in front of the Newfield Town Hall on Saturday, April 18th. Everyone will register what areas of road that they will be working on, and that list will be given to the highway superintendent, Kevin Bergren, and him and his gang will go around to all those areas that we worked at, pick up that trash,
Oh,
and deliver it to Tompkins County Recycling and Waste Management.
that's brilliant. That's brilliant because then they don't have to load trucks. They don't have to put things in their trunks, and nobody wants to put what they're picking up on the side of the road in their car. Right. That's
Yes.
really smart.
It's especially important because I think last year alone, our volunteers picked up like 55 tires. Can you imagine trying to load that stuff into your car?
It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't
Yeah.
happen. You'd be running back and forth all day. So you're working well with the municipalities and the powers that be. How are you recruiting volunteers? Because I know recruiting volunteers can be difficult these days.
Well, I'm trying to do as much PR as possible. This is one way that we can do the PRs through podcasts like yours. But there's also the Newfield community Facebook page. There is the Newfield Public Library, who's been absolutely fantastic helping me with PR. And there's Heather McCarty, who's one of the Newfield Town board members, who I think heads the Climate Action Committee, as well as has influence over the town newsletter. I reached out to the Newfield Central School District. Each year, they've sent out a text to all the families to let them
Right.
know. There's also the Newfield Honor Societies, the regular honor society and the junior honor society, they have community service requirements. So this is an opportunity.
I was going to ask if that was still in place.
Yes.
We used to use
Um,
them with the Daffodil Festival as well.
and let's see, there's the Girl Scouts, which they actually have two. They've been doing this sort of cleanup since before Newfield Green Up Day. So they traditionally have Bank Street and Main Street in Newfield. So those main two strips of road that they clean up those. And then who also has been doing something like this longer than our Newfield Green Up Day is the Make Newfield Beautiful group. They're an Adopt a Highway program, and they
Okay.
work between Dennis's Ice Cream and 3496, and I think they're going to try to make it up to like Millard Hill, and so they'll get that strip of 13.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to clean up beyond what these groups are doing. So that's where my volunteers come in.
Right. So how many pounds are you picking up a year?
The first
Like,
year was 1,100. Second year was 1,800. The third year was 1,120.
wow, that's impressive. That's pretty amazing. And like you said, 50 some odd tires. So is this difficult to do if you were to give folks a template in the Lehigh Valley? What would you say the first, 5 steps are?
So the first step initiation is to get the idea out there. Make a post on your community Facebook page and just talk it up a little bit. Make sure that there's some interest, and there usually is. And then directly contact your town supervisor or your mayor or whoever heads up your town, and ask them if you can come and present to the Newfield Town Board, your town board, and state your idea of developing a green up day and just work with them. I mean, you can think it all out beforehand, but also be open to suggestions from the board. The next step would be to make sure you have supplies. So I'm wondering if Lehigh Valley has any sort of watershed network, some sort of environmental organization that supports green ups. If you don't have an organization that can give you supplies, it's reliant upon you to ask the town board to see if they can supply you. The minimum, they should be able to supply you with trash bags. What we do is black trash bags for trash and white trash bags for recycling.
Smart.
So there's a whole bunch of guidelines. The other thing you got to do is contact your dump, your waste management, recycling and waste management center, and you ask them about a waiver for free delivery, as well as for guidelines. I had a lot of back and forth about what sort of guidelines I need to give my volunteers. Like one thing they don't want us picking up is rocks, dirt, and poop, stuff that's biodegradable. It's
Right.
not worth our time to haul that away. But plastics, tires, we have a limited amount of tires. We can only pick up so many tires each year, but still those guidelines are really important.
Right. What do people do if they find drug paraphernalia or stuff from meth labs that gets dumped on the side of the road? Do they identify that,
Um,
flag that, and walk away?
they should identify it, flag it, and if they can, put it inside a sealable, recyclable container. And then that can be delivered, but it can't just
Okay.
be thrown into the trash bag because as people are
Right.
handling them, they'll puncture through.
Right.
But again, that is to be established with your waste management person,
Right.
because they'll provide all those guidelines as to what you need to do.
So what's the weirdest thing you guys have found on the side of a road?
um,
I'm sure there's a
I,
few things.
there was this 80-plus-year-old and her 50-year-old daughter hauled out one of those playhouses for like toddlers that was
Right.
ditched in the side of the road. Full on playhead, and they hauled that sucker out. I was so impressed.
Interesting. No washers and dryers?
Not yet. No washers and
Nothing.
dryers. I haven't heard of anything like too bizarre beyond that one play set. Yeah, but I'm sure in years to come we'll have all sorts of stories.
Oh, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. I know when I see things blow off of the back of moving trucks, when people are moving themselves and something escapes their truck, they tend not to go back to get it.
You you know how you put out your recycling, and if you're up in the highlands of Newfield, that there can be high velocity winds. They can
Right.
knock over your recycling bins, and then it will scatter to be trash for us to have to pick up.
What do you wish more people would ask you?
I wish more people would ask, like, how can we help? How can we get this out there? How can we become more involved? Right. I think getting the word out is really, really where I need help, especially to the school system. They need to try to get it out to families to try to become more involved in getting people to volunteer. The most that we've ever had was somewhere around 65 volunteers. That was the 1800 year, the second year.
Hmm.
And then the next year was 45. So we have so many roads. I don't know if you guys know Newfield, but it covers a wide area. And
Yeah.
we only hit a fraction of the roads each year.
I knew Newfield because I was a home inspector for a long time and I got to know that whole Ithaca Finger Lakes area. Newfield is just really beautiful. It's really gorgeous out there. So, if you had a magic wand, what would you do with that magic wand? Get people not to throw things out of their cars? What kinds of things would you do?
Get people to be more aware about what trash on the roadside actually breaks down to microplastics that goes into the water systems, and sometimes we drink that water. There has to be a lot more studies as to the negative effects. They're definitely not healthy in our systems. So if I had a
Right.
magic wand, yes, I would get people to stop throwing trash and recycling on the roadsides, but also I would love to clear our waterways of microplastics,
Right.
including the oceans, but that's well beyond my capabilities. One of my dreams is to spread Newfield GreenUp Day throughout the Finger Lakes, throughout those watershed networks.
It's a great idea. I think you're on your way. I think you're doing the right thing. So, what is one small thing you think someone listening to this podcast can do? Just one small thing to get started. What do you think they should be doing?
I would mark your calendars for April 18th with that registration table from 9 to 12 out in front of the Newfield Town Hall. But that's if you're a potential volunteer for the Newfield GreenUp Day. But for everyone else, I really want everyone to notice when there's trash on the roadsides. Don't feel like you have to pick it all up, but if you're going for a walk around your block or whatever and notice that there's a lot of trash around, make one of your walks dedicated to a trash pickup. You don't need to develop a whole green up day. If you just want to do something yourself, you can go around with a trash bag and just clean up. I personally have
Right.
one of those long grabbers. It's a 4-footer. And so I can get
Yeah.
down in the gullies and stuff like that. And it can be a very fun activity to do with friends, to do with family. My boys love to get down there in the ditches and get all that crap out of the roadways and just make it look nice.
I think I told you offline that my wife and I used to walk the dogs and pick up trash all the time. We lived in Candor. My wife had these giant tweezers. They were really well designed. They were about 3.5 feet long, so she didn't have to bend over at all to pick things up. And I had like the typical grabber type things. You can't find something like that. A nail with the head cut off, put into the bottom of a stick. We would just spear things. And that's the one I preferred because I didn't have to try to grab something. I could just pick it up and toss it in the bag pretty quickly. I got pretty adept. And like you said, it was a lot of fun to get out there. The next time you walked your dogs and that trash was gone, it really felt good. It was a little bit of an endorphin rush when you're walking your dogs. Yeah, we cleaned this up. This looks good. And it would make us go to other areas and do more. We weren't doing it for any other reason than we just wanted it picked up. In my core, I'm an environmentalist. Don't make things dirty. Be responsible. Where can people find you and your organization aside from on the 18th if they want to look you up and get involved and maybe expand this into other communities? Because now, Mitch, you're an inspiration and other people are going to want to do what you're doing. So how can people get in touch with you? And do you have a website? Do you have a Facebook page?
I only have my Facebook profile. I have my email that I've been putting out there. You can email me at Mitch Raymond 614. That's MITCHRAYMOND 614 @gmail.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me if you want to have further input on how to do this for your community, or if you want to come out and be a volunteer for our Newfield GreenUP Day. And if you ever want to chat with me, that's a great way to get a hold of me as well. You can email me and we can set up a time to chat.
Excellent. Excellent. So what is one thing that you would want everybody around the world, not just in Newfield anymore? You're the inspiration for Lehigh Valley now. And Lehigh Valley looks a lot like the Finger Lakes. We've got rugged hills and we've got the Lehigh Gap, which is stunningly beautiful, the Blue Mountains. It's a little different vibe. It's not so much farming, although we have a lot of farming. It's also old industrial. Where I live in Slatington, we supplied slate to the world. People can look at what Vermont's doing as well. What I'm trying to do is get people to think about doing this everywhere, right? And you're doing it for one day. You don't, if a place is a mess, there's no reason you can't have a club that goes out, like even a hiking club, and picks a spot and cleans up that area once in a while, or set up competitions between different groups, the Girl Scouts against, another group who are doing something in a different area, right? And just kind of amp things up a little bit and get people out there. Is there a message that you want to deliver to the world right now?
If I was to think of a message, it's the fact that we as human beings are responsible to be stewards of our environment. And the more we abuse it, the more our environment gets affected. It affects the health of us as humans, but it also affects the other members of the ecosystem. So it's really important to not be careless about throwing trash and polluting. It's really important to really adopt that role of being stewards of the earth in your own small way, in your own environment. Make sure that environment is as clean and well kept as you can make it. You don't have to manicure everything, but just make sure that trash is off the roadsides, as well as where you hike. If you see trash along the rivers and trash along the areas that you hike, that's just as important. It's not just roadsides. It's not just for looks. It's for protecting the environment for other species as well as our own.
Excellent. Well, Mitch, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate the work you're doing. I wish you a lot of luck with this event this year. Again, thank you for the work you're doing and being an inspiration to everybody.
Thank you for having me on.